Hello and welcome to F12 Programming. My name is Mike Hewitt.
This is Jacob Brains.
And what are we going to be talking about today?
Quick little video. We're just going to talk about namespaces real fast.
Which seems like a very easy concept. But
it is, but I remember a long time ago when I was first learning to program and they threw out this concept of namespaces and nobody really seemed to explain what it was. They all kind of gave these half answers that didn't explain everything.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had that experience, but anyway.
So a long time ago, yes.
Yeah. So at the beginning of almost every C# file, we see something like line 4 here, where we say namespace and it's got some name, and a lot of times you'll see it separated with dots, and you'll have some big long name here. And what nobody told me initially, which makes this a lot easier to understand, is that a namespace is just a categorization for how we store things, and you can think of it very similar to the file structure on a hard drive.
Yeah.
Right? So
well, you're right there, which is a very concept that no one really tells you at the beginning. You just have to kind of figure it out.
Right,
just
right.
Assume...
Nobody comes out and just says what it is. So you can think of this program here as being in the F12 Tech Solutions folder.
Right.
And if I say dot subfolder, you can think of it as being in the F12 Tech Solutions / subfolder folder. You know.
So I guess the first part is, why don't we go to Hello Logic and the logic. What is in the Hello Logic?
Yeah. So we're just a little back up here. We're continuing from a previous video that we did. So we have another project with another class file in here,
and it is in a namespace called Hello Logic.
So it's pretty common a lot of times that the namespace matches the project name.
Well, a lot of times that's what they that's what Visual Studio just defaults. Yeah.
But we're not required to. We can make this anything we want. It's really up to us, and it's all about how we want to organize our code. So Hello Logic is actually a dependency of Hello Console. So if I go back to my program here,
and real quick, go to Hello Logic and create a folder right here.
A folder in Hello Logic? Sure.
Just call it 123 or whatever. Not 123.
My folder.
There you go. And then create a class inside of that.
I know where you're going with this. So if I come in here and make a class, and I'm going to call it child class.
Okay. Hit add. If you look there, they put it as Hello Logic, and then whatever the folder structure. So that is Visual Studio's default way of doing it.
Yes, so they're almost kind of reinforcing that idea of it being folder
structure. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that. I can take that off, and it's still good code. I can put it back on and add some more stuff to it. Still good code. It's all up to us. But by default, when you make a new class,
go ahead and add 123 on the end.
And I should even go one step further that say when you come into this project, and depending on what version of Visual Studio, you may have to hunt a little bit on this, but when you come into your properties for this project, somewhere in here, let's see if I can find it.
Going off script here.
I'm off script.
There's somewhere on here where you can define.
Somewhere in here, yeah, it's buried in here somewhere. You can say, for this particular project, here is the default namespace that I want you to use. And that's where it's getting this from, and then it's adding your folder structure on top of that. But again, like I said, you can make this whatever you want to. And let's go ahead and make this public, this child class here. And now, back in our program over here, because I'm in a different namespace, effectively I'm in a different folder, if you want to think of it that way, I can't get to that child class. It's not accessible to me. But if I know the entire name of it, which as we said was, back here on child class, was Hello Logic My Folder 123.
Child class, yeah.
If I come back to my program and I type that whole thing in there, right? So Hello Logic dot.
And there is our 123.
My Folder 123, and you can see it's got the little squigglies to let you know it's namespace. Dot. There's my child class. And I can new it up. I can access it that way too. And sometimes I guess maybe one way of thinking about it is this is this is the class, but this is the class with the full path name. You know, like if you were on a hard drive and you said, this is, you know, this drive /folder/folder/folder. This is the full name, and no class should ever, at least in the same program, should ever have the same complete name with the namespace. It's distinct and unique to that class.
Yeah.
So there can be no confusion. And the reason we have namespaces, which I guess I should have mentioned early on, is we have different programmers, and their code is interacting, and I might make a class called program, and you might make a class called program, and our code might need to interact, and it wouldn't work because we would have a naming conflict.
Well, I've had this happen in the past where I'm bringing in a different DLL or a different NuGet package, and they have the same stuff as me, named the same way. So how do we get around that? Other than
the quick and easy way is that we use a different namespace than they do, and we just fully specify our namespace. But the other way we can do it is we can make aliases up here in our using. So the one I was going to example was actually more of a shortcut, which is we can say something like with static stuff like math.py. A lot of times this isn't system.math.py. We want to say something like...
Well, before we get there, real quick, your hello logic my folder 123 is long, and I think we need to be able to put it back up into our using statement on program. Go back to program. So if you...
Oh, so you want to shorten this up?
Well, not just shorten it up, just say child class.
Well, I think, let me check on this one. I think we can actually say using
hello logic.
Well, no, I was going to say let's make up some alias here. Let's just call it CC for child class, and we can set that equal to. Just paste that in there. So you can do this.
Well, you want to point it to the namespace, not the class, correct?
Well, in this case, I'm going all the way down to the class.
Okay.
So if I don't, you know, I should have left that in there before so you can see how long it was. Here, let me do that. If that's a lot to type, if you got to do it over and over and over again, make this one 2 so there's not a naming conflict there. This might start to get a little hard to read. So yeah, we can make using statements where we say this particular class is equal to some short abbreviation.
Right.
So we can reference that.
Here's the other thing. Go on line 14 and just type in child class. Now, obviously, it can't find it because it doesn't have the namespace, but an easy way is control dot.
Right here?
Yep. And that should say, oh, well, there it is right there, the first using statement. And if you click that, it adds it right up to the top.
That is so weird because I was going to say, yeah, I do that all the time too, but I use Alt-Enter.
Oh, really?
Because we did the same thing.
Interesting. Interesting.
Weird, different syntax. Yeah. So, like control dot, you mean Alt-Enter? Okay.
Yeah.
There's 1,000 different shortcuts.
And
in
so,
Visual Studio.
as long as that's the only child class using the using statement up there, you don't need to use an alias. But if there's
we can drop that now.
Yeah, if there's 2, well,
we still need it here, but now we can just say.
Right.
We can just say that without having to specify the entire...
The only time you need to alias is if you have 2 different namespaces with the same... If you have 2 different namespaces that have child class in it, then you need to say... Because it doesn't know which child class to use.
Yeah.
If there's 2 at the top.
And we've got some edge cases here.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's about as far as I want to go into.
Yeah, there's not much left.
Well, no, actually, there's one more thing that I want to say because I have a personal pet peeve that I want to address, which is when we have a namespace, everything's got to be indented 4 spaces, but that's just because everybody does that because it's the default. We actually don't need these brackets.
Oh.
We can take these off as long as we put a semicolon at the end of the namespace. And now if I tell
everything after it.
And now if I tell it to reformat, everything cuts in.
Okay.
Thank you for watching that video from F12 Programming. Please remember to like and subscribe. That does so much for us in the ratings. You have no idea. Also, don't forget to comment below. I hope you enjoyed, and good luck coding.